Hello and welcome back to Kaiserreich, Bukhara edition. So with the addition of a little bit better strategy and a lot more cheating, I am on civilian difficulty after all, as I love to remind you people, and robots. Don't forget about you robots out there. We are currently successfully defending Bukhara against this onslaught of total nonsense from the Russians. Look at you, Russians. The Russians, I think, are mostly unbothered by this. Look how many divisions they have. They've deployed, like, probably around 20 of their over 100, realistically, divisions. You know, they have a deployed army manpower of around more than 1 million men, and they've lost 300k, which is a lot. I've lost 50k, so we are now at a 1-to-6 ratio. So we are slowly out-ratioing them, and I have 100,000 men in the bank, more every day. I think that we're in a spot that, like, I could remotely start to call a good spot. You know, if this situation could be called good. I'm gradually, like, agonizingly slowly transitioning over to engineering companies. Wow, the Kurds got beaten. Oh, put that away. The Kurds got beaten. What a surprise. Yeah, I've never seen the Kurds ever succeed. Like, the only time I've ever seen Kurdistan is released as a puppet. I would love it if they could fix that and just make it like an actual thing. I kind of feel like the fact that the rebellions are a little bit staggered doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Like, I know that this is, like, I know that, like, realistically you could be like, oh, well, they're not, like, explicitly coordinating their actions. But, like, not only does it make for better gameplay, like, if you're a tiny baby state, the chance of you beating the super state is pretty much zero unless you have a bunch of help. And I think that there is some argument for once one rebellion starts, other rebellions will start. Or if one rebellion starts and it's not quashed immediately, other rebellions will start. The idea that, like, of lumping this all in with the Syrian revolt, the Assyrian revolt, the Armenian revolt, Kurd revolt, that all happening kind of at the same time would make some sense, and it would, I think, make for a better gameplay experience. I don't know if people agree with me on that. It just seems kind of pointless. All right, so this is yet another danger. This is like a danger point where, like, the infrastructure here is really good, which is bad because my enemies are here. Now, I think that doesn't matter because the infrastructure surrounding it is bad and they get their supply from the capital. But this was the reason I did it. Research councils. I desperately, desperately need research councils. Oh, hey, there's an Insulindian revolution. I saw it and then I didn't think about it because I don't really care. So, like, what is even happening here? We got, like, Super Mysore. This is so bizarre to me, because I think they managed to... They launched a revolution against the Princely Federation, and they won, which I've never seen happen before. And I'm a little bit mad at myself that I didn't, like, bring the camera over here. To be fair, I was a little bit busy. But it's one of those things where it's like, that's insane. But supply is good again, which is nice. Oy vey. Okay, so many forts damaged. It's like, no, I'm not going to repair the infrastructure. I just don't think it's safe. But look at how hale and hearty, and free political power, which matters so much less than it did before. Like, I don't know. Aircraft designer? I guess, sure. captain of industry, or you know, I just don't see a reason to spend it. At some point, I want to probably research radio. Though actually, my war support's not too bad. Look at my numbers go up. All right, it is now winter, which I don't think really matters that much down here. All right, Fangatan. All right, so this is an interesting situation. So the Qing are okay. So the Qing are at war with the NRG. Great. The NRG are at war with this sort of like southern bloc down here. I don't really know what with like the southern government basically. And now Feng Tian is swinging down south to take down the Qing, which means 5th Zili Fengtan War. Okay. Swag. And now it's sort of like essentially is a now this is essentially a two-way war with the southern government down here, the Guangzhou government. I am unfamiliar with the phonemes, and transliteration can only go so far to assisting me with saying these words that the language center of my brain is unfamiliar with saying. Fengtian and the NRG are essentially on one side of the conflict, and the Qing and Guangzhou are on the other side. I really should familiarize myself with some of these non-English phonemes. It would make me a more literate person overall. If you have time, I recommend that you do so as well. Expose yourself to cultures that are not your own. Ah, and there it goes. What was previously a two-way war is now properly a three-way war. So now Guangzhou is attempting to just push north, fighting everyone here. Fengtian is trying to take down the Qing, and the NRG is trying to push west. I'm kind of interested to see who wins. So now the Chinese Civil War is like properly, both China and America are just on fire right now. I think it would be interesting if these civil wars do not resolve themselves quickly. It'd be interesting if I would like to see there be a way for them to eventually be folded into the Second Weltkrieg, because that seems kind of plausible, and it's not unlike the way that actual World War II worked in like OTL, original timeline. The original timeline, a lot of these local conflicts like lasted long enough that they eventually became part of the big war. Like, for example, the Japanese invasion of China was ultimately unsuccessful, but it kind of sat in a stalemate for years and years and years, and eventually it got folded into Japan's war with the British and Americans who wanted to support China because China was fighting the Japanese. And I think that you could do something interesting with that, where, like, say, the Internationale is a sort of good narrative tool for this, because the Internationale is explicitly an internationalist movement. The idea that their support of the CSA and, like, you know, so syndicalists down in South America, and maybe even syndicalists in China, could eventually, when things start going spicy, begin to rope people into a larger conflict, where local conflicts become just sort of part of this larger national conflict. Look at this! Look at this! How are we doing on the... yeah, we still need support equipment. And I think I'm going to wait to bank a good amount of support equipment before I fully make the transition. I am debating. Yeah, I think what I need to do is that. Eventually, I want to get artillery. All right, war in the desert. The French keep trying to stomp down colonial revolts. Okay, that's very nice. So we got improved infantry equipment. So I'm actually going to wait until next year because that will expand our options in terms of things that we can research. Georgia is going to join the Reich Pact, which is, frankly, probably a good idea. Though, I've made this joke before. Or, no, I haven't, actually. I made this joke to myself. And I sometimes forget who I'm talking to. Because my brain works perfectly well, thank you. The Ruskies are, I think, maybe not gonna do anything if they stay at war with me, which it looks increasingly possible that they will continue to stay at war with me. Here's what is going to happen. If they do not join the war once the Commune of France has started to go to war with the Germans, like once this war has started, I'm going to wait like a month, and then I'm going to manually tag switch. Oh, okay, how did that happen? I'm going to manually tag switch to Russia and do one thing, and that one thing is declare war on the Germans. If I have to use cheats to do it, I will. That's fine with me. Why am I doing that? I am doing it because I genuinely think that it is more interesting if for me and for everyone else, if the war goes on more or less the way it's supposed to. Not only will this make this like this, not only does it give me sort of an end game goal of like, oh, okay, eventually I can kind of push out and like retake my territory and like take up to this line and be like, yay, I've made a Central Asian Federation. In addition to that, it means that the Germans don't just like stomp the syndicalists, which they yet may do, but I mean, that would be good for me, actually. Okay, I'm just pointing out that that is a thing I'm planning to do. It requires that and we're waiting until January. That requires, of course, that I successfully fend off the Russians for another year and probably some. Though it is increasingly looking possible. I have not had to do any fancy footwork. Autosave. I've not had to do any fancy footwork recently. All right, so when Research Councils comes through, okay, yeah. Broadly, the way I think that the war in the desert should work is Egypt should be weaker than the Ottomans by a considerable margin. The Ottomans should be weakened by opportunism from like the Iranians and from sort of internal fracturing, that sort of thing. Oh, hey, the Bulgarians did lose. That happened literally like a whoa. Did we see that? That was some red. I don't think anything came of it, but hey, we got to our finest hour. What childish fantasy indeed. So everything is going okay on my end. I'm actually considering transferring. Is this our trench infantry? Yeah, so I'm actually thinking I'm going to transition somebody over to... Because Samarkand is actually doing okay. Alright, that would be the Great Syrian Revolt. There we go. Um... Oh, that's so funny. This is going to get to 4 before this gets to 3. Just because Samarkand keeps being attacked. Alright, Civil War in Greece. Yeah, I think Samarkand is actually going to be okay. Reducing the just to make this sort of like a little bit more logical. Just a little bit more logical. And now we settle into what is essentially I would call like the long stalemate. All right. Fangtian is doing good. It's making work. Beijing has fallen. And yes, it is possible. It talks about in that surely China can only be united by the sword. It is technically possible, I think, to just sort of peacefully reunify China. Not literally totally peacefully, but like once a faction becomes kind of dominant, I think that if certain events happen in a certain order, you don't need to stomp every little guy. Oy vey, this is like... Again, it's the long stalemate. Yep, there we go. I question how effective that is, but if things start getting touch and go... Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Yep, another Persian-Ottoman war. So the Ottomans are now at war with the Yemen, Egyptians, Syrians, Iranians, Tripolitanians, and Cyrenaians. The Greeks are at war with each other. The Greeks can hop in on this, by the way. Because of course they can. Because this fandom is filled with degenerate Byzantium fans. Alright. So, we have now 2 research slots. Literally doubles our research capabilities. I'm going to... Yeah, this gives us plus 200% entrenchment. I'm going to research this. Next up probably is going to be Mountaineers. I think we're studying the Weltkrieg. Yeah. I don't know. Let's go civilian factories. Just to improve our fortification speed. Gonna really maybe get us out ahead of some of these problems. Alright, Armenia has joined the fun. Armenia, I think, has been buffed, if I remember correctly. Not too aggressively, but I think it's been mildly buffed. All right, Wuhan. Has fallen. Yeah, all right. The Qing are really on the ropes. It's very, very notable at this point. They've lost Beijing. They've lost Wuhan. It's sort of only a matter of time. Well, I mean, luck may yet turn. Speaking of that, oofa doofa. So the American Union State is kind of screwed at this point. I think they're out of the running, but it's entirely possible. The PSA has gotten pretty immensely buffed since earlier patches. They used to be kind of like an also ran compared to the other three factions, but I mean I've seen them win before now, and it's pretty regular occurrence. So I'm going to say it's going to come down to the CSA and the PSA, depending on whether the PSA can. I don't want to fully discount the AUS, but I don't think that they can manage to pull it off. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably the PSA. I think that what's going to happen is the CSA and the AUS are going to destroy each other, and then the PSA is going to swing in and win the whole thing. That would be my guess right now. But it's anyone's game! Alright. This is a fat amount of guys. How's our casualty rate? That's nice. Okay, so we're at almost 1 to 9. The Russians they've almost lost 500,000 guys trying to destroy me. Which is, you know, it's a far cry from, like, the ratio is just gonna, it just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. Alright, well, Biatara has declared war on Mysore. Let's exert some heroism. I don't necessarily need to, but, like, I have a lot of political power because of the difficulty that I chose. I probably could increase the speed at this point, frankly, but, like, why? How are we doing on guns? Yeah, we're doing good on guns. Hey, we managed to get a third fort in Samarkand, which that I think really is going to turn things around. Yeah, but we still don't really have enough. It's trench infantry, that's trench infantry. I'm going to convert this to trench infantry. Convert this to trench infantry. And that should be all of the equipment. Look at that entrenchment. Yeah. Look at that entrenchment. Yes. 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 All right. Austria-Hungary continues to hungrily gobble up itself. Look at this. I bet that doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, okay, so this is the thing that the buff that they got. They get independence fervor, extra mobilization speed, reduced surrender limit, extra war support, and extra division limit. Which, you know, makes sense. We're getting to the point where I legitimately may just straight up give command power. All right. Whoa. What's that flag? That's a new... I'm not familiar with that SRI flag. Yeah, I think they may have fiddled with this. Yeah, did they screw around with... It doesn't look like they changed the tree. Yeah. Either way, that's a new flag. That might be related to the fact that they're radical socialists or anything. Either way, so we have reached March, and I'm declaring a cease to this particular episode, but I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.